What's up, gamers? How the heck are you? Are you building crit? Why are you building crit? Why would you even think of doing such a thing? That is literally how the grounded community has been over the last few days, possibly weeks, and it is getting crazy through YouTube comments, through YouTubers themselves, through Discord, Reddit. It is just getting ridiculous of how people care so much how other people like to play. It's crazy, and I don't get it. So I decided to make this video showing off some cool little crit armor, some fun things that you can use to, if you like to play crit and you don't want to play poison because it's possibly killing your teammates, and you just want to do like a fun crit build that every now and then you get a crazy unleash of damage, because it still, if you have enough in there, it still does a good amount of damage. It just doesn't happen all the time, and that's fine. I'm not going to throw a ton of numbers at you. I'm just going to show you the pieces, try them out for yourself. We're going to go over some armor, we're going to go over a few weapons, and we're also going to go over the mutations used in order to help crit even more. We will also be going over, at the very end of the video, a mix and match build that I like to run every so often, just because this is kind of like a way to mesh two powerhouses in the game, and you get a really fun build out of it, and it's nice to use just while you're going through the backyard messing up, and it's pretty good against bosses too. So wait for the end of the video for that. Anyway, let's get to the video. All right, let's talk about our first piece of armor. This is going to be a later stage style armor, obviously, because it is the Mantis armor. Mantis armor, you're going to have to kill her multiple times to get both weapon and armor, but this full kit is very crit heavy. It's definitely benefit towards crit. We will talk about mutations later, but right now we're just going to go over the weapon and armor. Okay, so when it comes to the Mantis armor, each piece is going to give you Cutman. Cutman is every time you hit a critical hit, you get a chance to bleed the enemy. Super nice. So it means every time you get a crit, a little bit of a bleed happens. Now, I'm not going to tell you that bleed is as good as poison, because it's just not true. Poison tends to hit really hard. Bleed is kind of like a slow effect, but it is there, and it is nice to give you that little extra damage, especially against some tankier enemies, because you can see the bleed ticking down. It's just not as drastic as poison hits. And you get, for each piece, you get a crit stun. That means you add an additional stun damage to each crit that you hit. So every time you hit, you have a possibility to hit a stun damage, which is just extra damage along with your crits. Now, if you are wearing the full set, that means every time you hit one crit, you get your first original crit, you're going to access critical chain, which is going to give you an increased chance on your next crit, and so forth and so on. So wearing the full set does benefit crit over time. You just still have to hit your original crit, and then you get an increased chance after. If you are using the Mantis Scythe, you get yoked blows. Yoked blows in this game basically just increases the amount of damage given, your damage multiplier given on a critical hit. Because when you hit a critical, you have a damage multiplier. This will just increase that multiplier, giving you a higher damage output, which is nice, because when crit does happen, if you have a few of these on, a lot of damage, a lot of chunk of that health does go away. So it's not like poison that just kind of seems like it's always stacking, but it's more like of an instant, like a chunk just goes. You know, poison just stacks kind of over time, and then you get like the big hits. Don't get me wrong, poison's very, very good in this game, but there's nothing wrong with crit as well when crit hits. I'll say that it doesn't get the love that I think it deserves, because people are going to throw a lot of numbers at you, but numbers aren't everything. I would say just try out the armor to see if it works for you. Now, for early stages, let's go talk about a build for that. Now, early stages in this game, you can use an armor set called the Black Ant armor. It does kind of tailor towards crit, which is super nice. You also have a chance to get the spear. So you will use the Stinger Spear along with Black Ant armor, and you're probably going to be critting quite a bit. The spear does not come with a ton of damage already locked in, but it is very fast. So you'll be getting a ton of hits in there. The more hits you get, the more chances you have to hit a critical hit. So that's super nice. Now, if you wanted to use the spear along with Mantis armor to try to hit those crit chains more, that's a possibility too. That's up to you, because this is one of the few weapons in this game that actually comes with a critical hit chance. So it's already benefiting you by giving you a higher percent to actually hit a crit. Along with the armor itself offers crit after blocking. And it does it for each piece. So you can wear just one piece of this armor and it'll benefit over time for how much armor, or benefit over time with your blocking. So you can just wear one piece. Every time you block, you'll get that increased chance. And just blocking, you don't have to hit a perfect block. So any blocking will increase the amount of crit, or increase the percentage of the crit you will do. So just keep that in mind. The set bonus for this doesn't really affect crit. It just offers some damage kickback for your attacker that's hitting you. All right, so mutations in this game. So this is where crit's going to come from for a lot of people, just because you're not always going to maybe want to run around with a spear, or run around with one of the weapons that may, I believe the spear is the only one that causes critical chance. Because in case you didn't know, in this game, if you have 0 critical chance effects from food or from mutations or from a weapon, you're doing 0% chance. You cannot crit in this game. No crit will happen unless you have one of these things on. So coup de grace is going to be the number one thing that everybody's going to look for in this game, because it does offer a critical chance. First phase, it offers 2.5%. Second phase, it offers 5% chance. That's not a huge percent chance, but coupled with some other armor pieces and some of the weapons, that gets increased quite a bit, and you can do quite a bit of damage by using these pieces of gear and armor. So I'm not going to say it's as beneficial as any other type of armor out there, but I am going to say that it's, if you like running crit builds and you like having this, it hasn't shown the love right now, but I will say that I've run this mutation probably since the beginning of my playthroughs, and every time I get it, I turn it on. I probably keep it on above any other one that I have, just because that critical hit chance, when it happens, it's nice. And I'm not going to put on something else that may not even be that beneficial in the time frame when that offers me extra damage when it hits. And it hits. So that's my reasoning for always having coup de grace on. I don't care so much about the numbers. The numbers don't really affect me that much. I don't care that it's only 5%, because I've seen it work. I've seen it affect. That's what I'm telling you. So go and try these things out for yourself. If you're comfortable with how much that percentage is, keep using it. Don't let somebody tell you to turn it off just because, oh, it's so low, what's the point of having it on? Because when that does hit, it's a nice chunk of damage to get taken out of. You might be fighting a wolf spider, hitting all nice blocks, and you're like struggling and you're about to die, but boom, that last hit is a crit. Dead. Because she had just enough health that crit took it away. That's beneficial, and that's something that I am comfortable enjoying and having on in my and especially for ranged players. Because if you're hitting with arrows, now you have, with some armor sets, you have more of an increased chance to crit with your arrows. So it's super nice. Now, one other mutation that you can use, and this will be more maybe later game, maybe not, depending on how good you are at peeping creatures and getting gold cards, if they fix it. Right now, I think it's broken. So Trapper Peeper, it gives you yoked blows, basically. So it's the same thing that the Mantis Scythe does, but this is a mutation that you can have on for every attack, not just to carry around the Mantis Scythe. So yoked blows. So at the first phase, I believe it gives you 20%. Second phase, I think it's 40%. And the third phase, it's 60% increase in your damage crit multiplier. But right now, I think it is bugged. So to get this, you have to peep creatures, or you have to get the gold card off of creatures. And I believe you need to get all phase 3. I think it says 59 according to Grounded Wiki. 59 gold cards, which I believe is all of them. So if that's the case, I shouldn't have this, because I do not have all the gold cards. I maybe have over half, or definitely over half, but not all the gold cards. And I still have this. So I've heard that it is bugged. So if you can get this, go ahead and get it now. If you don't have it, I am sorry for that, and hopefully that you can get it before they fix it, because it might be hard to get some of the gold cards. So take advantage of it while you can. But if you do have this on, and even if you have the first phase, you're still getting an increased chance in damage. So this is just another mutation to use for your increasing your chances of getting a crit and having damage, which is super nice. And real quick, I mentioned one of the weapons, but let's just go ahead and go over them real quick. Weapons that help with critical damage. So The Fire Ant Club actually causes a crit daze, which crit daze is a stun from a crit. That's nice. So you can use that if you want to add to a crit build, if you want to increase your crit. You don't have to. Also, the Mantis Scythe, like we said, does yoked blows, so that's the increasing the crit chance. That's really nice. Increasing crit damage, so that's really nice. And then we went over the Stinger Spear, which is the only weapon that increases your critical chance. So if you want to just optimize the amount of times you crit, consider using this weapon and consider maxing it out and getting as much damage you can out of it, because it is the only weapon that offers you a critical chance. So it will increase the amount of times you hit. Plus, if you're wearing the Black Ant armor, like we said, every time you block, it offers that critical chance as well. And then if you eat food along with that, offering more critical chance. There you go. Easy as that. All right, as a final little thing, this is just a mix build, because I know people are going to talk about mixing pieces of armor, and there are plenty of other mix builds that you guys can do. And then if you don't want to mix and match, that's perfectly fine. I actually don't like mixing and matching a lot, but this is one that I have used, and I've seen that it works pretty well. You can swap out the weapons. You don't necessarily need to use the weapon I have right now equipped. But one of the better mix and matches I've seen will cross poison and crit at the same time, and I'll show you why. So basically you're going to use the Mask of the Mother Demon, a Widow shoulder or leg piece, it doesn't really matter, and then you're going to use an Assassin shoulder or leg piece. The Mantis shoulder or leg piece. So either one of those are just fine. They're interchangeable just because you need the effects from them. So let's go to the effects that you're getting. So you're going to get Parry Poison, which every time you parry, to get a perfect block, you're going to have a chance to poison your attacker. You're going to get Poison Damage, which anytime you do poison, you have an increased damage poison, so that's nice. This is also where poison kind of takes a little bit of the lead, just because there's just so many things that can proc poison, but you're with crit, you're just not given as many chances to proc a crit. That's the only real difference in my opinion. You also get Poison Nova from the mask, so a big gas cloud will form, and that'll cause poison damage as well. Also, with the damage increased from one of your pieces of gear, that as well. You also get poison coating, so whatever weapon you're carrying will be coated in poison as well, so you have a much higher chance of hitting poison attacks. And then if poison just doesn't happen for backups, you still have your crit stuns, you still have your cut man, and you still have your critical chance that are happening in that time. So this is kind of like a mesh of some of the better things in the game. So if you don't have poison hitting all the time, when that crit does hit, it takes a chunk of the health off as well, and you get the bleed damage along with it. Now I will say, for people who have mentioned in other videos, if you are using Poison Nova and you are using your poison weapons, be sure to watch out for your friends and who you're fighting, just because who you're fighting with, just because they can be damaged by the poison severely, and your friends might end up being very hurt and possibly get knocked or even die in the game if you are using poison with a friendly fire turned on. All right, guys, that's the video. I hope what you take away from this video is the simple fact that just build how you want to build, play how you want to play, test things out for yourself. Don't let YouTubers or people in comments or people in Discords or people in Reddit and stuff like that, don't let them influence you on what you like to play, how you like to play, okay? Especially if they're being rude about it. And don't get me wrong, there are wonderful creators out there that are just giving information. I try my best to just give the information and say, hey, this is how I like to play. You know, you don't have to play this way. Every time I talk about armor, weapons, and stuff like this, you don't have to play the way that I'm saying this is how I like, and sometimes this is how I play. So you choose how you want to play. That's why this game is loved. That's why a lot of games have such a variety of weapons, armors. Play how you want to play. I hope that's what we take away from this. And I hope people just be nice in comments. If you have a build that you like, just leave it down below, or say, hey, this is what I use. This works great for me. Like, you don't have to be like, why are you doing that? That's dumb playing that way. You don't have to say those things. Now that I said that, people are going to probably flood the comments with those sayings, but you know what I mean. Like, we don't have to be this type of community. We can be a community that just say, hey, this is how I choose to play. This is how I beat this boss. It worked for me. Why don't you give it a shot? Anyway, guys, if you liked the video at all, hit that like button below. It does help with the algorithm. And please If you enjoyed me at all, consider subscribing to the channel. Go watch a couple of my other videos. If you like those at all, then you need to subscribe, because hey, I'd love to have you here. Love to hang out with you. I love video games. I love talking about video games. I love to talk with them with you. Anyway, guys, I will catch you in the next one. And as always, peace out.